Hi. So I'm moving on from this whole identity purpose thing, just because I feel like I've exhausted, like I've been searching and I've learned something, and for now it's time to move on. This is what I've learned. Identity affects perspective, and perspective affects purpose. Okay, so if I know who I am, then if I know who I am, then that changes my perspective on what my purpose is, or it actually opens my eyes to what my purpose is. So I like as those who've been following me know, finishing my master's last year, coming back to Ireland unemployed, having a baby, being super heavy, like weight wise, heavier than I've ever been, and how that kind of really affected me in terms of, because I was like, what's my purpose? Am I just supposed to have children and just do nothing else? But the last few months, I've just been going to God and reading and just kind of really searching myself and really trying to understand myself, to figure who I am, to figure out who I am again. Because I feel like in every phase, and I've said this in other videos, in every phase of my life, especially when I'm transitioning, I lose I lose sight of who I am. And it happens all the time. Like when I moved from Kenya at the age of 11, I had to Dublin, and I went straight into secondary school. That really threw me off. And then going to college, I was super excited, but it really threw me off in terms of who I was. And it actually took me 3 years of college to be like, oh, this is who I am. And then kind of when I started working, and then when I started, just in different relationships, lost sight of who I was. And then when I got married, as great as that was and is, kind of lost who I am, but then found it. And then when I had my first baby, when we transitioned to America. So I've just had these moments of kind of reevaluating who I am, but I've never been as depressed about my identity and my purpose as I was when I moved back in August, and after I had my baby. In October, and obviously like hormones play a huge part in that. But basically, so what I've learned, identity, perspective, purpose. So my purpose actually, if you're a Christian like me, I believe that your purpose doesn't change. God created you for a purpose. He created me for a purpose. That purpose is there. What happens is when I lose sight of who I am, in myself, in God, then I lose sight. My perspective changes, and I struggle to see what my real purpose is. And I have to say, even though I graduated with a Master of Divinity, coming up to the end, I really did feel, and I guess it's because, and this is what I'm going to be talking about in the next few weeks, marriage. So Tim and I were having a lot of difficulties in a marriage last year, and that really threw me off. So between my home issues and then trying to finish up my course, and then having a 2-year-old and nursing him. I was still nursing him while pregnant again, even though we really wanted to get pregnant, and we were actually trying for about 2 years to get pregnant with our second baby. So it just really threw me off, and that in itself threw off my sense of identity, and as a result, my sense of purpose. So what I want to say is, I think it's important. My pastor, ex-pastor, because he's moved on, he's in Iceland now. He used to say that we need to kind of journal every day, like every day, write down, what you did, like kind of reflect, spend time reflecting. I really believe it's because most of us don't reflect that we lose sight of who we are. So we're so busy doing life, we're so busy working, doing church stuff, doing children, and as a result, we end up losing sight of who we are. I've started to kind of just write down my thoughts. Sometimes I forget. I try to do it every night, but forget. But at least once a week I do kind of try and reflect and think, and just even, and actually what really helps, so I started going to the gym at the end of December there, and I do a difficult class, and then I do something like, and don't stone me, Christians. I do yoga or body balance or Pilates, and during those classes, I'm able to reflect. I'm able to just think on the day and whatever, and actually at the end of most of those classes they give you 5 minutes to yourself, so you're lying there with your eyes closed, and they tell you to just take those 5 minutes for yourself, and that's where actually they tell you to detach and go to a sunny place or whatever. It's in that time that I take my time, and I thank God for the day, and I reflect on the day and what I did during the day, and my kids, and I say a little prayer to kind of end the day, because after that then I come home, have a shower, and then put the kids to bed. So identity, perspective, purpose. Your purpose hasn't changed. God created you for a purpose. Your identity, how you see yourself, affects how you see your purpose, or if you see your purpose at all. So I know what I was called to do. I really do believe that I am a minister, regardless of whether I'm employed or not. I have this desire to just love on people and show the love of Christ to people. And I can do that whether or not I'm hired as a pastor. So, I know, like, it sounds like it's a big revelation. It's really not, because I've come to this moment many times, but we forget, and when we forget and God reminds us, I get really excited. So I had forgotten, but now I remember, and I'm super excited, and remembering who I am in God, that I was created. God had a purpose for me. He handpicked me for a job many years ago, way before I was even born. Like, that's just exciting. And then he placed me in places. He's constantly placing me in places where I'm able to fulfill that purpose, regardless of who supports me or not, because he's on my side. So basically, bottom line is, you are not what anyone else thinks you are. You are not even what you think you are. Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes we say all these negative things to ourselves. We are much more than our negative thoughts. We are much more than what TV says about heavy girls or skinny girls. We're much more than what TV and media says about black girls or white girls or Asian girls or whatever. We are much more than that. We were created for a purpose. We have meaning. Our lives have meaning, and if we would only kind of center ourselves in that, to something greater, something more powerful than ourselves, then we would, our perspective would completely change. And so as I end this series, I'm super excited. I'm praying and hoping that I will be focused this time on who I am. Because when I know who I am, then that changes everything, and it changes how I view people. It changes how I view my purpose, and it changes how I view life and marriage and eating. Like, if I really believe I'm special and that my body is special, then I'm not gonna eat rubbish. Um, yeah, and I'm not gonna just sit around watching TV all day and having nothing, doing nothing of meaning with myself. So yeah, so my next series is going to be about marriage. I've been married nearly 5 years this year, and it's been quite interesting, like, mostly great. But as I mentioned, we had a tough time last year, and we're coming out of it. And I want to share this with people. I don't want people to feel sorry for me. I want, or to take anyone's side or whatever. I just want people to know that marriage is hard, but it is possible, and to know that you can talk about your marital problems. And because our parents' generation didn't talk about marriage problems. So they just acted like everything was okay and hoped that if they fake it, then they will make it. I'm not doing that. I'm going to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. And yeah, so join me on this journey. And remember, you are special, you're important, your identity affects your perspective, and that affects your purpose. So if you don't know who you are, then you don't know what your purpose is, or you think your purpose is something else that it's not. And God bless. Take care. Bye bye.